Becky always kept a piece of fire in her pocket. Not the kind that sings your sleeve, but a compact, insistent spark that flared when the world smelled stale and somebody needed shaking. Sometimes it was a snide comment at a dull dinner party, sometimes a late-night leaflet drop that got a street talking. But tonight the spark had grown into something theatrical. Herself at Home was not a title to be missed. Becky plastered the posters in bold serif on telephone poles and community boards. Herself at Home. One woman. One mic. Truth guaranteed. Tickets £7. A charity selfie with a heart. A blot of handwriting in the corner. No refunds. Necessary discomfort provided. Carla first saw the poster outside the salon, half hidden behind the chalkboard that advertised 2-for-1 blow-dries. She smirked. Becky. A name that meant opinions, entrance, exits, and never anything light. Carla folded the paper in her hand and, without meaning to, read it twice like a sentence in a story she didn't expect was about to include her. Lisa saw it the next day when a delivery of pastries arrived that were half-heartedly marked as apology buns, a local bakery's attempt at community absolution after their staff had been filmed in a row about deliveries. She read the poster between the croissants and the coffee machine, and a comic thought tugged at her. Could Becky possibly be staging yet another one-woman crusade? The last time Becky staged anything, it involved an unlicensed reading at the library that ended in free-range yoga in the stacks and a debate about fines for overdue feelings. Both women had their reasons to be wary. Becky's flair for the dramatic often revealed truths in ways that were useful and dangerous in unequal measure. For some, she was a conscience with lipstick. For others, a storm that did not knock politely. The theater where Becky booked 3 consecutive nights was a small, red velvet place on the corner of the high street. The kind that smelled like old carpets and lemon polish. Seated with rows that creaked and a stage that had seen community panto kings and a few disastrous talent-spotting evenings. Becky liked that the lights would catch dust. She liked that nothing in that room pretended to be flashier than it was. On opening night, there was a queue of hungry curiosity. The audience was an unruly college of local faces, influencers with more followers than sins, placard-toting neighbors, and a couple who had come for the food and stayed for the controversy. Carla and Lisa, both there as much for the spectacle as for personal reasons, took their seats near the front. They had come separately. They did not need to sit together to feel the current that Peggy's poster promised to stir. The curtain rose on a single chair and a lamp. Becky stepped into the light like someone who had rehearsed honesty for years and wasn't about to bow for applause. Her opening line cut like a practical joke. If you've come to watch me confess, bring a pen. If you've come to complain, bring popcorn. If you've come to learn why a quiet life is impossible, you're sitting in the right seat. Act 2. The Move. Becky's performance was not a tidy monologue. It moved like a weather front, sweeping personal memory, local grievances, and a running commentary on how the town wore its stories. She was funny in the parts you expected and ferocious in the parts you wouldn't. She pulled faces at small hypocrisies and had a way of mimicking the puffed-up voices of town authority that made half the audience guffaw in involuntary recognition. Then she went nuclear. Midway through her third hour, there was a pause between scenes to keep an audience from drowning in truth. Becky produced a set of keys. They were ordinary, rubbed with use, and attached to a paint-splattered fob with a doodle of a sun. Becky let them slip through her fingers for theatrics, and somewhere, in the back of the room, someone whispered, "What keys?" "These keys," Becky said, "open the upstairs flat above Carla's bistro." A hiss rolled through the seating like a shallow wind. Carla's fork clanked against ceramic. Lisa's mouth went dry. Nobody in the audience had the right to that sort of hush. They were gossip, not mourners. But Becky had manufactured a serious quiet. The upstairs flat had long been a rumor in the town, empty, shuttered, and the subject of 100 sympathetic and speculative comments on community feeds. Tenants said it held ghosts. Developers said it held opportunity. Carla had said once that it held the Brawley her granddaughter had forgotten, and she had been forgiven for speaking lovingly about a place that might have been a memory. Becky told the story of how she had acquired the keys with a flourish that suggested capers and compromises. She didn't shy from legalities. She spoke in the ambiguous language of moral rights. The flat is being used as storage for the developer's models, she said. It has been kept.